Neutrality means without meaning. It doesn't mean that for you or I that it's neutral. Far from it. There's a lot of things that don't feel or we don't interpret neutrally. But neutrality means that you and I as humans are adding meaning to events and situations. For example, my father's death or my mother's death or my brother's death or my friend's death will not appear neutral to me. I will probably have an interpretation of loss, and I'll have an interpretation of grief, and I'll be experiencing grief because I've added the meaning to that as loss. But on the other hand, the mortuary might see that as a positive situation. I mean, it's money in their bank. So inherently to death is not a negative experience, or inherent is not a positive experience. It's just death. And then depending on who you are, depending on the human being and the perspective they bring to that situation, they're going to have a positive or negative experience. So people who master success and people who don't seem to live in reaction are people that can look out in the world and see that what's happening is just a what is. And that they are free to add the interpretation that empowers them. So one of the first steps in terms of creation and responsibility would be to see events as neutral. Then the second step is to take ownership of the event. And the way I have that is that life is a big theater, and I am the director and the producer of everything in my theater. And if it walks into my theater, I'm going to interact with it. I'm either going to see it or smell it, I'm going to touch it, I'm interpreting it, I'm dealing with it, I'm ignoring with it, but it's in my theater. So at the vibrational level, I look at, I'm attracting into my theater, and then from the being and the doing level, I'm looking at how do I be with it and how am I thinking through this and how am I responding to this event. So I would say that all of the events in my theater are purposeful because I can have them be purposeful. All events in my theater are valuable because I can have them be valuable. That inherently, there's not good or bad things walking through my life. There's events and people and situations walking through my life. And it is up to me to decide whether that's going to be a good or bad thing. And since I want to be empowered and I want to be inspired, I'm going to start to look for the point of view and the perspective that's going to have me grow, that's going to have me win, that's going to have me inspired, it's going to have the people around me inspired. So I start to look from a workable context, and I start to find ways that I can interpret the situation that brings joy, passion, and freedom to me and to all the people who are involved.